Welcome to the Car Guys, and this week we have a very special comparison video between this 718 Spyder and this GT3 Touring.
You may think this is an odd comparison, but what we like to do is to find out what the differences really are. What's the difference in power, what's the difference in steering, gearbox, brakes, the whole thing.
In what ways are these cars the same, but crucially, how are they different?
Let's take them for a ride.
Now obviously you can't directly compare these cars because they are very different. Convertible roadster, hardcore track monster. However, what we're particularly interested in today is exactly how similar they are in certain areas, particularly when it comes down to the driving experience. What are they like to drive? What are the gearboxes like? What's the steering like? What sort of thrills do they actually give you?
Can you get 90% of the way to here by buying one of these?
Before we get started, quick wristwatch check. This week I've got on my Tudor Black Bay 58 Navy.
I'm wearing the beautiful Tudor Heritage Black Bay Bucherer with a bronze and blue. Look at the blue, yummy. Let's start with the Boxster. Let's start with the Spyder. It's a lovely sunny day, top down motoring. Start here, go on to here.
It's a good benchmark, and then we move on to the majesty of the mighty GT3.
Obviously, there's not an awful lot to compare against these two cars because they are completely separate models. However, if you notice the front end of the Boxster, if you notice the front end of the Spyder is very similar to the front end of the GT3. I think that Porsche have done a great job with this. So a couple of key things that carried over between both cars: big side vents for the radiators, which is awesome, and this brilliant grille just in front of the bonnets. This is obviously a design cue for all sporty Porsches, and we love it.
Ooh. This is a Porsche 718 Spyder. So the aim of this is to get used to all the different controls, try everything out, check it, see what we think, and then jump straight into the GT3 Touring for a comparison.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good thing. I have an issue with Boxsters, which we are going to try. We're trying to get through, aren't we?
It's a Spyder.
It's
very clearly not a Boxster. There's
it's
nothing
marked
in the literature that says that this is a Boxster, and you would be a fool and a communist to suggest otherwise. Now that noise there tells you very clearly that I have yet to put the sports exhaust on.
Yeah, that's taking some time finding that sports exhaust, isn't it?
It is.
Instantly, it's quite firm, isn't it?
Yep, and that's with the suspension button not on.
Yeah.
Here's the suspension button when it's on.
Oh my god, that's really hard.
Yeah, what about this bit?
Yeah, two of my vertebrae are fused. So the exhaust is very, what's the word for it?
Muted?
Yes, muted.
Silent?
Yeah, almost
rubbish?
Imperceptible.
Here we go. It's quite muted. That's the problem, you see. That's why you absolutely have to get an aftermarket exhaust for this car. Remember that for when we then get in the GT3.
Yeah, okay.
So noise is obviously a big part, especially if you've got no roof. You're going to want a glorious sound to echo around us.
Of course, yeah. I mean, you don't want your Boxster to sound like normal, do you? That's the thing.
Gear change. Now this is a 6-speed box, which thank goodness, because the 7-speed in the Carrera T, that was one gear too many. So this is the perfect number of gears for this car. Now it is a very good shift, and there is no doubt about it. This is a great gearbox. It's perhaps a little bit notchy, but it's pretty good overall. And the main thing that people have said in the old Spyder was that the gearing was a bit too long, and I have to confess, I think they've carried that over in this. The gearing is quite long,
right,
which means you can stay in gear far longer than you would expect, and probably, I suspect, far longer than you do in the GT3.
So this is not necessarily kind of race car pedigree, because the longer gearing would mean that it's more of a touring car.
What it means is if you are nipping around a sort of hairpinny type mountain pass, you're probably just going to leave it in second.
And then just have it.
Yeah, because second is good for more than 60 miles an hour.
Right.
So you don't have that fizzy in-out. Now, it's not a deal breaker for me, I have to say. I don't think, oh God, I really wish I could be making a lot more gear changes, because
said literally nobody ever.
And also, the clutch is actually surprisingly heavy, so it's not like I really am bursting to do more gears. What it does mean is that when you put your foot down and accelerate, you get to enjoy that gear for a very, very long time. But obviously the big difference between this and the Touring is the lack of this.
Yeah, there is something quite special about not having the roof on.
For the first time, the GT4, the hardtop version of this, is identical a car to this. So as we are technically reviewing the Spyder, we are also reviewing the GT4.
Really?
Because they're the same car. And this car obviously has to go on a track day fairly soon.
It does, although I'm still slightly concerned about open top cars and track days.
It's fine. It's fine. Just go limp. Go limp in the event of an accident. Yeah, and what I'll do is if it looks like we're about to crash, I'll just take your seatbelt off and you'll just get flung out.
Oh, okay, yeah, nice.
Old days, 1950s.
Old school. Yeah. I'm comforted by the fire extinguisher that is nestled underneath my seat.
I love that option. It's brilliant, isn't it?
It's really good.
Splash of red inside. Are we going to ever use it? Of course not. One thing where I think the Spyder may well stand heads and tails above the GT3 Touring.
Oh my God.
Is the brakes.
Really?
Yeah, because the Touring has got steel brakes and this has got ceramics, and they're not just any ceramics.
They're Porsche ceramics.
They are Porsche ceramics, and they are fantastic. Do you fancy some beans?
Let's have some beans.
Let's have some beans. Ready, guys?
Bit of
Ready for the beans.
Here we go.
Ready for the brakes?
Ready for the brakes.
They're good. They are good.
They are bloody good.
Oh, that's lovely, isn't it? Look at that. 300 ZX. Let's get up close, shall we, so you can see it.
Look at these chrome exhaust pipes he's got on the back of that as well.
Oh, look, let's get up close.
Loved.
Let's get camera one on that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Now,
Look at
living
it.
the dream then, boys.
Twin turbo Nissan 300 ZX. Beautiful.
Living the dream.
So steering reasonable, it's pretty good I think, but you know, not the best. Gear change pretty good. Sound not that great. Brakes astounding. Acceleration power pretty good.
Very good.
Interior, it's quite nicely appointed in here. Even better obviously now that we've got the leather seats.
So I would be shocked and stunned and frankly astounded if the GT3 brakes were anywhere close to being as good as this. That last sort of 500 RPM, that's when the exhaust actually starts to sound like decent, doesn't
exactly.
it?
Very, very brief.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, that sounds I need to change up. But instantly you feel at home. It's a very easy car to drive, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the thing about the Spyder platform.
Oh yeah, Spyder.
Is you know, you can just jump in and drive. That's it. You don't have to think. Right. Everything works. You plug it in, everything works.
Yeah.
And it just does exactly what you want again and again and again. It will never break. It will never fade.
It's got heft to the controls, which I really like.
It feels like you can abuse the controls and they'll just go, yeah, is that all you got? Come on in. Come on in, you slag.
Give it some more. I'm not sure I like this gear change.
Oh, why is that?
I'm thinking about it. It feels too close together.
You should try the 7-speed, mate.
Maybe it's because I've been driving the Talbot too much, which is 4 feet between first, second, third. Yeah, I do like this car. You know, dynamically, it's absolutely super. Once that exhaust gets sorted out, this is going to be a proper little stormer. There's enough horsepower to to keep you amused, but not so much that you're going to get yourself in frightening trouble.
Yeah, it's one of the few cars where I'm actually quite tempted to turn all the traction control off.
Yeah.
Just slide it around a little
Because
bit.
it feels like it's not going to bite you.
Yeah.
It feels like it's not terrifying.
So this is the 718 Spyder. Now it's time to jump in the GT3 Touring and let you know exactly what they're like compared. So here we are then, we've jumped into the GT3 Touring for a direct comparison with the Spyder.
So obviously you're hyper familiar with this car, because this is the daily,
Yep.
right?
The first thing that strikes me is steering. Even though the Spyder's steering is good, this is better. This is more direct, it weights up a lot more, it just feels like it's bolted directly to the wheels. And secondly, gearbox. I thought the gearbox in the Spyder was good. This is miles better.
There's a Carrera S engine in the Spyder, so you would have thought that they would have the same box, but
Yeah.
clearly not.
Clearly not, because the Spyder one is a lot more foamy. It's good, it's positive, it feels great, but this feels like it properly engaging. It's a lot easier to swap the cogs more quickly in this than it is in the Spyder. If you ever wanted the difference between steel brakes and ceramics demonstrated to you, then look no further, folks, because this GT3 has steel brakes in it, which I wasn't that bothered about. I was actually quite happy that it was steel, because steel brakes give you more feel, and if they run out, they're cheaper to replace. But the brakes on the Spyder, the ceramic brakes, are phenomenal.
They're legendary.
Yeah. In terms of instant response, this is the winner, and in terms of amount of power, this is the winner, and in terms of the shove that you get when you floor it, this is the winner.
It feels more urgent. Now lots of people who watch our channel are going to be saying things like, duh, obvious, it's a GT Porsche and it's going to be better than a Spyder.
However, the 718 Spyder is the newer car, so it's the latest technology.
Yeah.
It's also, for the first time, identical to the Cayman GT4, which in itself is meant to be a benchmark for handling and power and excitement.
This feels like it's a properly bolted together, big grown-up car. The Spyder feels a little bit wafty, a little bit, you know, thin,
whimsy,
a little bit whimsy. And the noise this makes on a standard exhaust
is better. Yeah, I don't feel the need to put a special exhaust on this car, whereas that was the first thing I wanted to do in the Spyder. I suppose the question we posed was, does the Spyder get close to the GT3? And in terms of driving pleasure, I think the answer's no. There's a reason why a GT3 is a GT3, and a reason why it's worth more money.
As good as the Spyder is, and the allure of the open top motoring, it is still much more of a cruiser.
Second gear beans GT3.
Let's go. Yeah, that's a properly quick car. Spyder's got nothing on that. I mean, we're not even in the same county. The shove and the grip levels that you get from this car are just outstanding.
Oh yes. So now it's time for Jason to
Rag
test
the absolute... Oh, sorry.
Should
I have a little bit of beanage, do you think? Maybe just a little?
I think a little bit of beanage
little
served up,
beanage. Is
served
that good?
cold.
Here we go then. Bit of That second power band is bloody amazing.
Yeah.
It's addictive. I think the steering feels lighter in this than the Spyder as well.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
And you're right, it's much more pointy.
Well, it's loosened up a bit now, because we've done more than 10,000 miles in this car.
That's true. I can't remember the last time I drove it, but we certainly haven't done that many miles. The pedals are set up perfectly for heel and toe. The turning's just phenomenal. You can feel the grip as you come out of the corner.
Yeah, it squats down.
Squats and then
Big old
pushes
fat
through.
rubber at the back there.
Oh, you're right about the gearbox as well. It feels more direct almost.
Yeah, nothing wrong with the Spyder one. It's a very good
it's
6-speed
really
box.
good.
But this just eclipses it.
So one thing I will say in defence of the brakes on this car, that yes, they are good on the Spyder, but because they are so hair trigger like, it makes it difficult to modulate your braking with heel and toe. Whereas this, because you've got to give it a little bit more of a shove, you're almost the pedals moved further, which allows you to heel and toe it much easier.
And I don't like the way it suggests that you should change up by just putting a little arrow there, a little pyramid.
And, oh, excuse me,
Yes.
do you think you should be changing up now?
Yes,
no, bloody don't.
Don't leave it ranking along in 5th. You should probably change it up for optimum fuel efficiency.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do we think then? Spyder versus Touring.
Well, as I say, it's not exactly a real true versus. I mean, you really would want to go out and find the extra cash to buy the Touring or a GT3. However, I will say this: if you like top-down motoring and you want something that's a bit more sparkly than a normal Boxster, then Spyder is definitely the way to go. If you just want sheer, unadulterated adrenaline, buy the GT3.
Is the Spyder 70-80% of a GT3?
I think it's 60% of a GT3.
Yeah, it just is, isn't it? It's just not quite there.
Just not
as
quite
good as it
enough.
is, it's when you hop between the two, as we have done this week, you really do understand the magic of the GT cars and what makes a GT3 special, particularly the 991.2. So if in doubt, buy the GT3, but if really in doubt, buy both.
So that's it. We've come to the end of our day. We've driven these beautiful Porsches back to back. We'll try to work out if this car, the 718 Spyder, which is a glorious machine, is anywhere close to a GT3. And unfortunately, I think the conclusion is it's just not there. However, as a car and an experience, roof down, engine blaring, get the exhaust pipe, don't stand with the standard exhaust. This is quite a phenomenal machine.
Definitely.
But jump into one of those straight afterwards and you realise what the gulf of technology, design and engineering there is between these two cars.
Nothing beats a GT3. Thanks for watching this episode on the 718 Spyder versus the GT3 Touring.
We really hope you enjoyed it. See the comparisons that we made. Don't forget to subscribe, leave comments because every single one of them is read. Ding that notification bell for when we have another episode uploaded. Find us on Instagram, website and Facebook, and
there'll be another Car Guys episode along next week.